Most stories about the Hells Angels start with roaring engines and clashing tempers. But this one started with silence. The kind of silence that wraps around a cold October morning when frost clings to windows and the world moves slowly. And behind the old Franklin Middle School, huddled against a rusted dumpster with newspapers for blankets, sat a boy the system had forgotten. 13-year-old Marcus Webb. Thin as a rail, quiet as a shadow, invisible to everyone who passed. He'd been sleeping behind that school for 7 months, surviving on cafeteria leftovers and the occasional dollar from strangers who never asked his name. Riverside was a decent-sized town, but even decent towns had cracks where kids could fall through and disappear. But that morning, fate didn't let him disappear. It pulled him straight into the fire. Before we go deeper, a quick question for everyone watching. Where are you from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I love seeing how far these stories reach across the world. Back to Marcus. He was shaking off sleep, rubbing frost from his fingers when he heard it. Not the usual morning bustle of kids arriving for school. Something else. Something wrong. A muffled shout. Then another. Then the unmistakable crack of glass breaking from inside the building. Marcus's head snapped toward the school's east wing. Smoke, thin at first, began curling from a second-floor window. Then thicker, darker. Within seconds, flames licked up the brick exterior like hungry fingers reaching for the sky. Fire alarms shattered the morning silence. Kids poured out of exits, teachers herding them toward the parking lot, voices overlapping in panic and confusion. But Marcus's eyes locked on one window. Second floor, east hallway. A girl's face pressed against the glass, hands slapping frantically, mouth open in a scream no one could hear over the chaos. She was trapped. Marcus didn't think, didn't plan, didn't weigh the risks. He just ran. His bare feet slapped against freezing pavement as he sprinted toward the side entrance. A teacher grabbed his shoulder. "Kid, get back. The building's on fire." Marcus twisted free. "There's someone inside." He shoved through the door before anyone could stop him. The hallway hit him like a wall. Heat, smoke, the acrid stench of burning plastic and paper. His eyes watered instantly. Coughing racked his thin chest, but he pushed forward, pulling his shirt over his mouth and nose. Emergency lights flickered red through the haze. He found the stairs and climbed 2 at a time, lungs screaming. The second floor was worse. Flames crawled across ceiling tiles, dropping burning debris in his path. He ducked, weaved, and kept moving. The girl's screams guided him like a beacon. She was there, behind a classroom door. The girl from the window, maybe 11 years old, blonde braids, eyes wide with terror. She pounded on the door's glass panel. "Help! Please help!" Marcus grabbed the handle. Locked. The metal burned his palm, and he yanked his hand back with a hiss. The girl sobbed, choking on smoke that poured under the door. Marcus looked around desperately. A fire extinguisher hung on the wall. He ripped it free and slammed it against the door's handle once, twice, 3 times until the lock mechanism shattered. The door burst open. Smoke billowed out, and Marcus lunged inside, grabbing the girl's arm. "Come on. We have to move." She stumbled, coughing so hard she could barely walk. Marcus half carried, half dragged her toward the stairs. Behind them, something exploded in the classroom. The shockwave threw them forward. They tumbled down 3 steps before Marcus caught himself, wrapping his arms around the girl's head to protect her. "Keep going," he shouted, though his voice was barely a rasp. They scrambled down the rest of the stairs. The main hallway ahead glowed orange. Flames blocked the exit they'd need. Marcus pivoted, spotting the gym entrance. "This way." They burst through the gym doors. "Cleaner air." Marcus gasped, filling his lungs, but kept the girl moving. "The emergency exit is at the far end." They ran, feet pounding on polished wood, and slammed through the door into blessed, cold morning air. They collapsed on the grass. Marcus rolled onto his back, coughing violently, chest heaving. The girl curled beside him, sobbing and gasping. Teachers and EMTs rushed toward them. Someone wrapped a blanket around the girl. Someone else knelt beside Marcus. "Son, are you hurt? Can you breathe?" Marcus nodded weakly, unable to speak. His throat felt like he'd swallowed razors. His hands throbbed where the door handle had burned him. But he was alive. So was she. The girl grabbed his shirt with trembling fingers. You, you saved me, she whispered, voice hoarse. You saved my life. Marcus managed a small nod. Couldn't leave you. Before anyone could say more, a sound rolled across the parking lot. Deep, thunderous. The unmistakable rumble of motorcycle engines. Not one or two. A dozen. Then more. They came around the corner in tight formation, chrome gleaming, leather jackets dark against the morning sun. And on every jacket, the same patch. The Hells Angels' death head skull. The lead bike roared to a stop. The rider, massive and intimidating with a gray-streaked beard and arms like tree trunks, killed his engine and swung off in one fluid motion. His eyes swept the scene, the burning school, the crowd of kids and teachers, then locked on the girl wrapped in the EMT's blanket. Sophia. His voice cracked with panic. Baby Sophia. The girl turned her head weakly. Daddy. That was her name. Sophia. And the mountain of a man sprinting toward her was her father. He dropped to his knees beside her, pulling her into his arms so carefully as she might shatter. You're okay. You're okay, baby. I've got you. His voice broke. Other bikers circled them, creating a protective wall, eyes scanning everything, everyone. Then Sophia's father looked at Marcus. Really looked at him. At the soot-covered, barefoot, trembling boy who'd just dragged his daughter from a burning building. You, he said slowly. You pulled her out. Marcus swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how he must look. Homeless. Filthy. Nobody. Yeah. I couldn't just. The man, Hawk, as his brothers called him, stared at Marcus like he was trying to understand something impossible. A homeless kid running into fire to save a stranger. What's your name, son? Marcus. Marcus Webb. Hawk placed one massive hand on Marcus's shoulder, gentle despite the obvious power in it. Marcus, you just saved my daughter's life. His voice dropped, thick with emotion. The Hells Angels don't forget that. Ever. Fire trucks screamed into the parking lot, sirens drowning out everything. But the bikers didn't move. They stood around Marcus and Sophia like sentinels, protective and immovable. Because saving the life of a Hells Angel's daughter doesn't end a story. It starts one. The paramedics worked quickly, oxygen masks strapped to both Marcus and Sophia's faces, vitals checked, burns treated. Marcus sat on the ambulance bumper, blanket around his shoulders, watching the school burn. His lungs ached. His hands stung. But he felt something else, too. Something unfamiliar. People were looking at him. Not through him. At him. Hawk stayed close, one arm around Sophia while she was examined. But his eyes kept returning to Marcus. Assessing. Thinking. Finally, he approached, crouching down to Marcus's eye level. Kid, you hurt anywhere else? Besides your hands. Marcus shook his head. Just smoke. My throat. Hawk nodded slowly. EMT says your lungs need monitoring. They want to take you both to the hospital. He paused. You got family we should call? Marcus looked down. No, sir. No family at all. Not anymore. The words hung heavy. Hawk's jaw tightened. Where have you been staying, Marcus? Marcus hesitated. Admitting you're homeless always brought problems. Social services. Questions. People are trying to fix things. Around. Around where? Behind the school. Mostly. Hawk closed his eyes briefly, like the answer physically hurt him. How long? 7 months. One of the other bikers, a bald guy named Spike, cursed under his breath. A kid your age living rough? Jesus. Hawk stood, rubbing his face. He looked at his brothers, and some silent communication passed between them. Then he turned back to Marcus. Listen to me carefully. You saved my little girl. She's everything to me. You understand? Everything. Marcus nodded. That means you're under our protection now. Club law. You don't sleep behind buildings anymore. You don't go hungry. You don't face the world alone. Hawk's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. You're with us. Marcus blinked. I what? You heard me. But I'm not. I'm nobody. Hawk's expression softened. You ran into fire for a kid you didn't know. That ain't nobody, son. That's somebody with more heart than most men twice your age. The ambulance driver called out. We need to transport both kids now. Hawk nodded. Go ahead. We're following. He looked at Marcus. I'll be right behind you, Marcus. You ain't alone anymore. As the ambulance pulled away, sirens wailing, Marcus watched through the rear window. The Hells Angels mounted their bikes in perfect synchronization. 12 motorcycles fell into formation behind the ambulance like an honor guard. Sophia sat across from him, oxygen mask still in place, but her eyes were clearer now. She reached out and touched his hand. Thank you, she whispered. You're really brave. Marcus didn't feel brave. He felt confused and scared and overwhelmed. But he managed a small smile. Just glad you're okay. The hospital came into view. Marcus had been here once before, when his mom was dying. He'd hoped never to come back. But as the ambulance backed into the emergency bay and those 12 motorcycles parked in a perfect line, engines rumbling in unison, he realized something. This time was different. This time, he wasn't alone. And if you believe courage isn't about being fearless, it's about doing what's right even when you're terrified, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Because this story is about to dive deep into a world where loyalty is everything, debts are sacred, and family isn't always blood. The ER erupted into controlled chaos the moment they wheeled Marcus and Sophia through the doors. Nurses, doctors, for lines, monitors beeping, voices calling out medical jargon Marcus didn't understand. Hawk stayed glued to Sophia's side, one hand gripping hers, his face a mask of barely controlled emotion. Marcus was placed in the next bay, separated only by a thin curtain. He could hear Sophia coughing, hear Hawk's voice murmuring reassurances, hear the doctor explaining smoke inhalation protocols. His own doctor, a woman with kind eyes and quick hands, checked his lungs, treated the burns on his palms, and asked gentle questions he only half answered. You're lucky, she said, wrapping his hands. Another minute in there, and she didn't finish. Didn't need to. When she left, Marcus stared at the ceiling tiles, trying to process everything. Hours ago, he'd been invisible. Now he was connected to the Hells Angels. The thought should have terrified him. Everything he'd heard about motorcycle clubs was dark, violent, and dangerous. But Hawk's eyes hadn't been violent. They'd been grateful, protective. The curtain pulled back. Hawk stepped through, his massive frame seeming to shrink the space. He pulled a chair close and sat heavily. Sophia's stable, he said. Doc says she'll be okay. Thanks to you. Marcus nodded, unsure what to say. Hawk leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I need to ask you something, Marcus. And I need you to be straight with me. Can you do that? Yes, sir. You got any enemies? Anyone who'd want to hurt you? Marcus frowned. No. I'm nobody. What? Hawk's jaw tightened. The fire chief just gave me a preliminary report. That fire? It wasn't an accident. Someone said it. In the East Wing. Right where Sophia's classroom was. The words took a moment to register. Someone on purpose? Yeah. And they knew Sophia would be there. First period. Same classroom every Monday. Hawk's hands clenched into fists. Someone tried to kill my daughter, Marcus. Marcus felt ice in his veins. But why? She's just a kid. Because I made enemies. Men who'd go after my family to hurt me. Hawk's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. Men who don't care about collateral damage. Collateral damage. Marcus's stomach twisted. The other kids. Evacuation was clean. Everyone got out except Sophia. She was trapped by debris blocking her classroom door. Hawk looked at Marcus with an intensity that burned. You were the only one who went back. The only one who saved her. They sat in silence. Outside the curtain, hospital sounds continued. Pages over the intercom. Wheels squeaking. Distant conversations. Normal sounds in an increasingly abnormal situation. Mr. Hawk. Just Hawk. Hawk, are you in trouble? Is Sophia? Hawk exhaled slowly. Yeah, Marcus. We might be. Which is why I need to know if you saw anything. Anyone hanging around the school before the fire. Anything strange. Marcus thought back. There was a van. Old. White. Parked across the street when I woke up. Thought it was weird because it wasn't there yesterday. Hawk straightened. You remember anything else about it? Had rust on the side panel. And the windows were tinted dark. Marcus closed his eyes, trying to recall more. There was a sticker, red and yellow. Couldn't read what it said. Hawk pulled out his phone and tapped quickly. Good. That's really good, Marcus. You just gave us more than the cops got. He stood. I'll be right back. Gotta make some calls. He stepped through the curtain, and Marcus heard low, urgent conversations in the hallway. Multiple voices. The rest of the club must be out there. After 10 minutes, Hawk returned with Spike and another biker Marcus hadn't met yet, a wiry guy with sharp eyes named Jax. Marcus, Hawk said carefully, we need to talk about what happens next. Okay. You can't go back to living behind that school. It's not safe. And with whoever started that fire still out there. He trailed off. I want you to come stay at the clubhouse. Just until we sort this out. Marcus tensed. I don't want to be a problem. Jack snorted. Kid, you saved Hawk's daughter. You're not a problem. You're family now. I'm not. Yeah, you are, Spike interrupted. That's how it works. You stood up when it mattered. Angel Law says we take care of our own. Marcus looked between them, seeing only sincerity. How long? Until it's safe, Hawk said. Could be days. Could be longer. But you'll have a bed. Food. Protection. He paused. And if you want, we can help you figure out something more permanent. School. A real place to live. For the first time in 7 months, Marcus felt something crack inside him. The wall he'd built to keep the world out, to stop caring because caring hurt too much. Why? His voice broke. Why do you care? Hawk crouched down again. Because you remind me of someone. A kid who had nothing gave everything anyway. Because my daughter is breathing because of you. And because he met Marcus's eyes. Because every kid deserves someone in their corner. And you ain't had that in a long time, have you? Marcus shook his head, not trusting his voice. Well, you got it now. Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted in the hallway. Raised voices. Heavy footsteps. Then Sophia screamed. Dad! Daddy! Hawk was through the curtain in an instant. Marcus scrambled off the bed, ignoring the nurse's protest, and followed. The scene in the hallway froze his blood. 3 men in dark clothes, faces covered, had pushed past hospital security. One held Sophia, hand over her mouth, dragging her backward toward the emergency exit. Hawk roared and charged, but the second man pulled a gun. Everything slowed down. The gun came up. Hawk didn't stop. The shot echoed like thunder. But Hawk kept coming, too, fueled by rage and fear to feel whatever had hit him. He collided with the gunman like a freight train, and they both went down in a tangle of fists and fury. Spike and Jax hit the other 2 men simultaneously. Chaos erupted. Patients screamed. Nurses ducked. Security finally got moving. And Marcus saw Sophia slip from her captor's grip during the struggle. She stumbled toward the wall, sobbing, terrified. Marcus grabbed her, pulling her behind him, positioning his body between her and the violence. The fight was brutal but brief. The Angels were trained, ruthless, and motivated. Within 90 seconds, all 3 attackers were on the ground, restrained, and security and police flooded in. Hawk staggered to his feet, blood spreading across his shoulder where the bullet had grazed him. Sophia? His voice was rough. I'm okay, Daddy. Marcus got me. Hawk turned, saw Marcus shielding his daughter, and something in his expression shifted. Respect. Gratitude. Recognition that this kid, this homeless boy with nothing, had just protected his daughter twice in one day. Police swarmed. Questions flew. The attackers were cuffed and dragged away. EMTs descended on Hawk, forcing him to sit while they treated his shoulder. Through it all, Marcus kept Sophia close, her hand gripping his shirt like a lifeline. A detective approached them. Son, I need to ask you some questions. Marcus looked at Hawk, who nodded. Answer him. The detective was methodical. What did Marcus see? Could he identify the men? Did he hear anything they said? Marcus answered truthfully, describing everything he could remember. When it was done, the detective closed his notebook. Kid, you've had one hell of a day. Yes, sir. You're a hero twice over now. Marcus didn't feel like a hero. He felt exhausted and scared and overwhelmed. But Sophia squeezed his hand, and that made it worth it. Hours passed before things calmed down. Hawk's injury was minor. The attackers were in custody. But police wanted the Angels to stay at the hospital for statements and evidence collection. Hawk refused to let Sophia out of his sight. Marcus stayed too, refusing to leave her. Finally, around midnight, they were released. The clubhouse was deemed safer than any hospital or safe house. Hawk carried a sleeping Sophia to his bike, while Spike led Marcus to another. Ever ridden before? Spike asked. No, sir. Hold on tight. Don't lean against turns. Just follow my body. Spike handed him a helmet. And Marcus? Welcome to the family. As they rode through the dark streets, surrounded by brothers, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Safe. If you believe no child should face danger alone, comment, protect the kids. Because what Marcus was about to discover would change everything he thought he knew about family, loyalty, and survival. The clubhouse appeared from the darkness like a fortress. High fences, security lights, cameras are mounted at every angle. This wasn't just a hangout. This was a compound built to keep threats out and the family safe. Hawk carried Sophia inside while the rest of the club secured the perimeter. Marcus followed Spike through heavy steel doors into a surprisingly warm interior. Leather couches, a long bar, pool tables. Photos on the walls showed decades of brotherhood. Bathrooms that way, Spike pointed. You hungry? Marcus nodded. He was always hungry. I'll get you something. Go clean up. The bathroom mirror showed Marcus just how rough he looked. Soot-stained face, singed hair, hollow cheeks from months of malnutrition. He scrubbed at his skin with shaking hands, watching the water turn gray as ash and dirt washed away. Underneath, he barely recognized himself. When he emerged, a plate waited on the bar. Real food. A burger. Fries. Fruit. Marcus stared at it for a moment before sitting down and eating slowly, forcing himself not to devour it too fast and make himself sick. Hawk appeared, Sophia still in his arms, but awake now. He settled her on a couch with blankets and pillows, then joined Marcus at the bar. You good? Yeah. Thank you. For the food. It's the least we can do. Hawk ordered a whiskey from the Prospect tending bar. Marcus, I need to tell you something. Those men at the hospital? They're connected to a crew we've had problems with. The Vipers. Marcus swallowed his bite. Vipers. Rival club. Been trying to muscle into our territory for years. They knew hitting Sophia would hurt me worse than any bullet. Hawk's jaw clenched. But they failed. Twice. Because of you. I just did what? What would anyone do? No, Marcus. Most people would have filmed it. Would have called for help and waited. You acted. Twice. Hawk leaned closer. That takes guts. And heart. The kind of heart we value. Marcus didn't know how to respond to that. Point is, Hawk continued, the Vipers know they failed. They know you're involved now. That makes you a target. Fear spiked through Marcus's chest. Me? But I'm nobody. You're somebody to Sophia. That makes you somebody to me. And to them. Hawk's voice hardened. Which is why you're staying here. Protected. Until we handle this. Handle it how? Hawk just looked at him. No words needed. Marcus understood. The Angels were going to war. Over the next few days, Marcus learned what it meant to live under the Angels' protection. He was given a room. Small but clean, with an actual bed and blankets, and privacy. 3 meals a day, every day. Clothes that fit. Necessities he'd gone without for months. But more than that, he learned about the club. About brotherhood. About loyalty that ran deeper than blood. The Angels weren't what TV shows portrayed. Yes, they were tough. Yes, they could be violent when necessary. But they also had rules. Honor. Family came first. Always. Sophia recovered quickly. Her lungs cleared. Her nightmares faded. And she stuck to Marcus like glue whenever he was around. She decided he was her hero, her protector, and nothing would convince her otherwise. Marcus watched this. She attempted a cartwheel in the clubhouse common room, landing awkwardly. Marcus laughed, the sound strange in his own ears. When had he last laughed? Hawk watched from across the room, a small smile on his face. Later, he pulled Marcus aside. She's different around you. Lighter. She's been through a lot these past years. Lost her mom to cancer 3 years back. Been just me and her since. His voice roughened. Seeing her smile again. That's because of you. Marcus didn't know what to say. I want to ask you something, Hawk continued. And you can say no, but I want you to think about it. When this is over, when the Vipers are handled, and it's safe, would you want to stay? Like, really stay. Not just crash here, but be part of this family. Marcus's heart hammered. You mean? I mean, I want to look into becoming your guardian. Legal. Permanent. Hawk held up a hand. I know it's fast. I know we barely know each other. But Marcus, you've shown more character in 3 days than some men show in a lifetime. Sophia loves you. The brothers respect you. And he paused. I see something in you. Something worth protecting and nurturing. You do that? For me. For you. For Sophia. For all of us. Hawk's eyes were steady. You belong here, kid. You just don't know it yet. Marcus felt tears burn his eyes. He blinked them back. Yeah. Yes. I'd want that. Hawk smiled, a rare, genuine smile, and clapped Marcus on the shoulder. Good. We'll start the paperwork when this is done. But first, they had to survive. The call came 2 days later. Intelligence said the Vipers were planning another hit. Bigger this time. They weren't going after Sophia. They were coming for the clubhouse itself. The Angels mobilized. Weapons checked. Defenses reinforced. Lookouts posted. Marcus and Sophia were moved to a safe room in the basement. Reinforced walls. One entrance. Supplies for days if needed. Stay here, Hawk ordered. No matter what you hear. Understand. Marcus nodded. Be careful. Hawk smiled grimly. Always am. The attack came at dawn. Not with subtlety, but with overwhelming force. 20 Vipers on bikes. 3 trucks. Guns blazing. They hit the front gate hard, breaching it with a truck used as a battering ram. But the Angels were ready. Defensive positions. Crossfire lanes. Coordinated response. What the Vipers intended as a massacre became a siege they couldn't win. In the safe room, Marcus held Sophia close, her hands over her ears as gunfire echoed above. He tried to stay calm, to project strength, but inside he was terrified. Not for himself. For Hawk. For the brothers upstairs fighting for them. The battle lasted 20 brutal minutes. Police sirens wailed in the distance. By the time law enforcement arrived, the Vipers were retreating, half their force down, the rest scrambling to escape. The Angels had held. Barely, but they'd held. Hawk came down to the safe room, blood on his shirt that wasn't his, exhaustion carved into his face. It's over. We won. Sophia ran to him, and he scooped her up. Marcus stood slowly. Everyone okay? Few injuries. Nothing critical. We got lucky. Hawk set Sophia down. Police are here. It's going to be a circus for a while. But the Vipers are done. Leadership's in custody. The club's finished. Marcus felt the tension drain from his body. So it's over? Yeah, kid. It's over. And just like that, after weeks of fear and fighting, peace descended. The Angels worked with the police, statements given, and evidence collected. The Vipers were dismantled, their leadership facing decades in prison. The territory war was over. Hawk followed through on his promise. Paperwork was filed. Social services investigated and surprisingly approved. The Angels' reputation wasn't clean, but Hawk's genuine care for Marcus and his stable home convinced them to take a chance. 6 months later, Marcus Webb officially became Marcus Webb Dawson, Hawk's legal son. The adoption hearing was small, just family. But when the judge signed the papers, the entire clubhouse erupted in celebration. Sophia hugged Marcus so tight he couldn't breathe. You're really my brother now. Marcus hugged her back, crying openly and unashamed. Yeah, I really am. Hawk pulled them both into his arms, his voice rough with emotion. Family. Real family. Marcus started school properly. Made friends. Played basketball. Got help catching up on years of missed education. Sophia thrived, too, her trauma fading as stability and love surrounded her. But Marcus never forgot where he came from. Once a month, he and Hawk volunteered at the homeless shelter, serving meals, distributing supplies, and talking to kids living the way he once had. You never know who you're talking to, Marcus would say. Could be someone who just needs one person to believe in them. The Hells Angels embraced Marcus fully. He wasn't a prospect or a hanger-on. He was Hawk's son, Sophia's brother. And while he was too young to wear the patch, Everyone knew he'd earn it someday if he chose that path. But for now, he was just a kid. A kid with a family, a home, and a future. 1 year after the fire, Marcus stood at the school memorial. A plaque honoring his bravery and the first responders. Sophia stood beside him, holding his hand. Hawk behind them, pride radiating from every inch of his massive frame. You know what I think about? Marcus said quietly. That morning. How different things would be if I'd stayed behind that dumpster. If I'd ignored the smoke. Sophia squeezed his hand. But you didn't. No, I didn't. That's what makes you my hero, she said simply. Marcus smiled. Not the timid, uncertain smile of a homeless boy, but the confident smile of a young man who'd found his place in the world. If you believe in second chances, in families built by choice, in courage that changes everything, hit that subscribe button now. Share this story. Tell others that sometimes the most unlikely heroes come from the darkest places. Because Marcus Webb's story proves something powerful, that it doesn't matter where you start. It matters what you do when the moment comes. And when you have people who believe in you, who stand beside you, who call you family. That changes everything. Years passed. Marcus graduated from high school with honors. Sophia grew into a confident teenager, never forgetting the brother who'd saved her life. Hawk watched both his children thrive, his heart full in ways he'd never expected. The clubhouse remained a fortress, but inside it was a home. Photos covered the walls now. Marcus and Sophia at every age, every milestone. Family dinners, holiday celebrations, birthday parties, normal life, built on a foundation of extraordinary circumstances. Marcus chose college over the club, studied social work, wanted to help kids as he had. Hawk supported him completely, proud beyond words. But Marcus wore an angel support shirt under his college hoodie. Never forgot where he came from. Who saved him? Who gave him a chance? On the 10th anniversary of the fire, they gathered. The whole club, extended family, friends. A celebration of survival, of family, of the bond forged in flames and sealed in loyalty. Hawk raised a glass. 10 years ago, a skinny homeless kid ran in a fire to save my daughter. Today, that kid is my son. A college graduate. A man of character. His voice caught. Marcus, you saved Sophia that day. But you saved me gave me hope. Reminded me what matters. Marcus stood, his own glass raised. You gave me everything. A home. A family. A future. I was nobody, invisible, forgotten. You saw me. And that made all the difference. Sophia wiped tears from her eyes. You're both going to make me cry. Too late. Hawk laughed, wiping his own eyes. The celebration continued late into the night. Music, laughter, stories retold for the 100th time, but never getting old. This was family. Chosen, fought for, and cherished. As Marcus stood on the clubhouse porch later, watching the stars, Hawk joined him. They stood in comfortable silence, the kind only real family shares. No regrets. Hawk asked quietly. Marcus thought about the cold mornings behind the dumpster. The hunger, the fear, the loneliness. Then he thought about the warmth inside. Sophia's laughter. The brother's loyalty. The life he'd built. Not a single one, he said. Hawk nodded. Good. Because I sure don't. They stood together, father and son, watching the night. Behind them, through the windows, the family gathered. Ahead of them, a future built on the ashes of the past. And in that moment, Marcus Webb Dawson knew something with absolute certainty. He was home. If you made it this far, comment family first below. Your engagement helps these stories reach others who need to hear them. Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more powerful stories of courage, loyalty, and the families we choose. Remember, heroes come in all sizes. Sometimes they're homeless kids with nothing but heart. And sometimes, one moment of courage changes everything. Thank you for being here, for listening, for believing that stories like this matter. Until next time, protect the innocent, honor the brave, and never forget, family isn't always blood.